Welcome back to Protect You Radio. Tonight's episode will be a best of or a highlight. It's hard to do a best of when you're an incredibly mediocre podcast. So tonight we're going to go back and look at murder versus self-defense and a good book tip that I got from Amanda Suffolk and something you should probably pick up. Also going to talk about mine, Marion, and Candy's journey to get where we are today for concealed carry, different gear, and just kind of how we got where we are today. And then the last segment will be Rob Campbell and I talking about holiday tips to stay safe. We did this back around Christmas, but these tips can probably be used any time of the year. So hopefully it's something you can pick up and use. I get a lot of looks and raised eyebrows when people ask about my religious beliefs and how they mesh with my self-defense teachings. So it gets down to murder versus killing. The original translation was "Thou shalt not murder." That was premeditative and had a lot to do with shedding of innocent blood. You know, if you use self-defense, you're not doing anything that's premeditated necessarily. You're not going out to murder somebody versus, self-defense. Two different things. This is probably one of the least well understood of the 10 Commandments. The reason is that the original Hebrew does not say "do not kill." It says "do not murder." Both Hebrew and English have two words for taking a life. One is kill, harag in Hebrew, and the other is murder, ratzak in Hebrew. And I've probably butchered both of those terms, but you get the idea. The difference between the two is enormous. Kill means, first, taking any life, whether of a human being or an animal. Taking a human life deliberately or by accident. Third, taking a human life legally or illegally, morally or immorally. Exodus 22, 2-3 gives justification for using self-defense. If a thief is caught breaking in at night and is struck a fatal blow, the defender is not guilty of bloodshed. But if it happens after sunrise, the defender is guilty of bloodshed. I believe it also goes a step further in defining justifiable homicide based on the criminal's intent. I discuss this in class and how it pertains to castle doctrine. Just because someone's in your house, you still need to use judgment when using deadly force. You can't just haul off and start killing people in your house under castle doctrine. You still have to think through some of this stuff. Just because somebody is in your house, you need to probably use some judgment and think about why they're there and not just necessarily attack them and open fire. When the Israelites were rebuilding Jerusalem, they had a mighty powerful block watch. Nehemiah 4:17, those who were rebuilding the wall and those who carried burdens took their load with one hand, doing the work, and the other holding a weapon. As for the builders, each wore his sword girded at his side as he built, while the trumpeter stood near. So we carried on the work with half of them holding spears from dawn until the stars appeared. So neither I, my brothers, my servants, nor the men of the guard who followed me, none of us removed our clothes. Each took his weapon even to the water. That is a serious self-defense plan. That is, guarding everything that's going on around them. Talk about your color levels of condition and alert. I would say they were probably condition red the entire time. Psalm 18:34 teaches us, "My hands to make war, so that my arms can bend a bow of bronze." Anyone hear of David and Goliath? You might even stretch that one into disparity of force issues. A smaller, weaker person acting in self-defense, using a weapon to equal the odds. In the Old Testament, there were temple guards. Of course, that could get into a whole nother show, and we talk about church security, which is a hugely popular issue right now. Maybe we'll do a whole nother show on that one. The very same part of the Bible that contains the 10 Commandments, the 5 books of Moses, the Torah, as is known by the Jews, commands the death penalty for murder, allows killing in war, and prescribes animal sacrifice. And of course, there's always the sell your cloak and go find a sword, which, nowadays, most of us aren't carrying swords. But, I'm sure Jesus would probably tell us, go sell your cloak and your iPad and go buy an AR-15. So as I was studying this topic, I was at the radio show with Amanda and Rob Suffolk, and Amanda handed me a book called A Time to Kill, The Myth of Christian Pacifism by Greg Hopkins. About the author, Greg Hopkins received his first firearms training as an auxiliary police officer in his hometown of Waverly, Ohio, where he served on the city council. He earned his law degree at the Cumberland School of Law in Birmingham, Alabama, and served there as city magistrate. After graduation, he clerked at the Alabama Court of Criminal Appeals and was admitted to the bar in 1989. Greg served as city prosecutor for Huntsville, Alabama, and he trained the Huntsville Police Department in legal use of force. He received training for police advisors at the FBA Academy in Quantico, Virginia, completed level 1 of Masad Ayoub's Lethal Force Institute in Pearl, Mississippi. After leaving the city's attorney's office, he practiced criminal defense law, served as a city court judge, and became a court-certified expert witness in firearms and self-defense law. Greg regularly consults on self-defense and firearms cases to analyze and reconstruct crime scenes. He is a nationally certified in use of force and pepper spray by the National Criminal Justice Training Council of Twin Lakes, Wisconsin. He is a life member of the NRA and has been certified NRA pistol safety and personal protection instructor since 1991. Greg has trained police and civilians in use of force law for 21 years. He teaches legal seminars on self-defense law, effects of violence on witnesses, and effects of post-traumatic stress disorder. He's taught Bible classes to adults since he was 18 years old. Welcome to Protect You Radio. It's another Monday night, self-defense radio from 4 in the afternoon to 4 in the morning. And Protect You now till 8, from 8 till 9. There you go, John. Get it out. Spit it out. And I'm so blessed. I have Candy and Marion back with me this week. So if you remember, they were on the show last week, and they were just talking about the well-armed woman last week. But this week, it is going to be a roundtable. We're just going to have some fun and talk about some different things. Some frequently asked questions we get as instructors and people as part of the show, or as we're out teaching and trying to educate people. We get a lot of questions, everything from what do you carry, how do you dress, to all kinds of shenanigans. But I always love to talk about it and educate people. So here we go. So we're going to get into a little round robin first. We're going to talk about how we got to where we are today as far as concealed carry goes. Anybody want to go first? It looked like an episode. Everyone's pointing at each other. It looked like something out of a comic.
Okay.
I don't mind going first. Oh, Marion's going to go first. Jump in, young lady.
I started back, I believe it was 2004 when CCW first came out in Ohio. Went with my husband and got it. And then about a big while after that, I started looking to see. I really didn't do much shooting in between. I was looking on the internet for a women's group, and I found the Well-Armed Woman. And there was a Stark chapter, so I started there. I think I started with my Smith & Wesson Shield 9mm was my first one that I started with. And then I went to Sue's meeting for a couple years. After that, I went to the Summit County had a chapter, and I thought that's closer to me, so I went there. Then the leader of that chapter left, moved out of state, so I ended up with the chapter. We're on our 4th year, and there's never a dull moment. I've gotten myself numerous guns by now. It's like addicting. So
outstanding. I like it. So you didn't have anybody out running around buying you guns or trying to force them on you?
No.
Bonus.
No. I just bought the SIG 365. Oh. And on the show before this, they said that for 2019, that was one of the most guns sold.
I can believe it. They seem to be really popular, and I've yet to run across anyone who said it was not a good gun for them. Mm-hmm. Even if they were out just shooting it once or twice, everyone seems to be really enjoying that gun. So,
yeah.
Good.
So I just purchased that one. I bought a 1911 too, 45. That's pretty sweet too.
That's two opposite ends of the spectrum. I'd hate to try to shoot them both at once, dual wield it.
We did that yesterday. We took them out, and I got to try them. So
very cool.
It was fun.
Outstanding. So as far as that's kind of the gun side, have you found yourself changing how you carry your guns?
No. I pretty much carry on my side.
Wow. How many different holsters did you try before you settled on one?
Well, I have a couple guns that I have to get holsters for.
I go the opposite. I buy a holster and I go, I got to find a gun to fit it. Or ammo. I buy ammo and go, I need to find a gun to fit this ammo. My wife's like, you're an idiot. Go away. So she rolls her eyes at me a lot. Bless her. That woman's a saint. That's all there is to it. Too fun. It's Candy. Got a kind of a progression that you went through, or?
Well, I've been shooting for about 3 years now. I was sitting here calculating. It's been about 3 years. And as I mentioned on the last show, it started because of Groupon. Thank you, Groupon. Thank you, my son.
That's great. I love it.
And again, just briefly, I started because I have 12 children. I have 7 beautiful daughters. And enough said right there. So
So you said you started about 3 years ago, still shooting the same gun? Do you switch guns up? Try something
actually, like Marion, I started with the Shield, which is a phenomenal gun.
Mm-hmm.
I love that gun. Absolutely love it. However, they came out with the 365 and, well, that's all she wrote.
Everyone's making the jump, I think.
Oh, it's an amazing gun. Amazing firearm.
Good for you. That's awesome. Excellent. And have you changed up how you carry your gun at all, or?
I change all the time.
Do you? Oh.
I do.
So like
simply
on daily
because,
basis, how you're dressed?
How I dress.
Okay.
It varies depending on that, and I like to, or I force myself to imagine myself in different situations. So I never want to be stuck in any one, so I practice all of them. I have about 3 different positions that I will carry in, and I vary it.
Good for you. So here's a question on the varying of how you carry. When you switch up on a certain day, do you do any type of draw stroke before you go out just to kind of remind yourself, hey, this is where my gun is today?
Every day.
Every day?
Yes.
Bravo. I've heard people do that. I tend to carry my gun in the same way, but if I do switch up, yeah, in the same way. I tend to give it a couple practice draws just as a reminder. I'm talking, this is the guy who was teaching in front of a class one day. And don't ask me why, I picked up a revolver. Now, mind you, I carry a semi-automatic about 99% of the time. So I went to do the demo of this drill, and I said, make sure you run the slide first. And I'm holding the revolver, and I'm going, why won't this slide move? So there you are in front of the class. You're supposed to be the professional, right? And you're trying to run the slide on a revolver. Yeah, so life happens. What can you do? Everyone's used to it. They're like, yeah, John's at it again. I was teaching Saturday, and I did something, but I tripped. Actually, just walking through the classroom, and they like start laughing. I was like, "Yep, I'm the guy with the gun who's gonna be standing behind you when you're on a shooting range. So watch your backs." Absolutely. So kind of how I got where I am as far as concealed carry and stuff is today. I started shooting when I was like 6. Dad did the old, hey, let's go out in the backyard with a BB gun. Then for my 7th birthday, he bought me a 410 shotgun, and I still remember having a nightmare the night before we went out squirrel hunting that the squirrel attacked me. So it was very prevalent in my mind that evening, I guess. And
you got attacked by a squirrel.
In my dream the night before we went hunting, I was So I'm guessing that something weird was going on there. But yeah, I found out quickly the 410 was bigger than the squirrel the next day, so we took care of that.
There you go.
We had fun with that. Yeah, and hunted most of my life. Met some guys in college who got me more into the handgun side of things, and we went out and we would shoot a lot. When you're in college, supposedly you're studying and don't have a lot of time to do anything. That's a bunch of bull. We went out and shot a lot. So we had fun. We did we did some combative type shooting. And at that time, one of them had sold me a revolver. So I started out shooting revolvers, model 66, big chunk of steel. Loved it. Incredibly accurate. But could you actually shoot it pretty fast because how well the trigger was done. From there, one of them convinced me that I needed this new polymer thing that they'd come out with that might go through airport security called a Glock. I was like, what is that thing? Are you kidding me? So we're walking through the gun show one day, and I walked past a jewelry stand of all things at a gun show. How many of you have been in gun shows? Yeah. How many booths aren't actually gun-related? Quite a few. And this guy happened to be a jewelry stand. That made me laugh because it was the first gun show I'd ever been to. I'm kind of looking. I don't know. For some reason, there's this black case in the middle of that jewelry stand. I kind of looked, and my buddy pokes me. He goes, that's a Glock. I was like, is that the thing you were telling me about? He goes, yeah. He goes, you should buy that because the price was good as far as I knew. Bought the Glock and fell in love with polymers. Who knew? Carrying that chunk of steel around, and then suddenly I'm like, oh, this is kind of light. It's kind of cool. Of course, the other guys made fun of me because they all carried, the one guy was carrying, what was it, a Bren 10, which was a 10 millimeter monster. I was like, what? Yeah. I'm like, you're going to shoot down airplanes with that thing. So I went out, ran around with the Glock for a while, fell in love with the Glock. And like many kids when they leave college, I had no money. So I sold everything I owned to try to get back home and sold my Glock. So it made me cry. Still cry about it.
Somehow.
Somehow.
Let's take a moment.
Yeah, I know, right?
Sniff.
Yeah, I know. So I somehow got into a Beretta, and I still don't remember how I did that. It was a Beretta 96, which is a 40 caliber, which I hate 40 caliber guns because I'm a delicate flower.
We can tell.
Yes, I know. I'm very delicate. My little wrist can handle the recoil from the 40 caliber, but that thing weighed a ton. And I took it to a class with a guy named Gabe Suarez. He'd come to Ohio and went through a class with that thing, and it beat the snot out of me. It was heavy to carry. I needed a belt that was twice as thick as I was thick. I'm pretty thick in my head, so it took a lot to hold that gun up. My pants were drooping an awful lot before I got a really good belt. My JCPenney belt wasn't holding it up so high.
So you look swag.
I was, let me tell you, I look good with my droopy pants on the one side. People were like, what is wrong with you? I was walking with a limp. I was like a peg leg, but it was because I had a big gun on my hip. I'm a pirate. Arrgh. So yeah, that was the kind of where I got, and luckily in that class I met Gabe, and I'd already been teaching concealed carry classes in 2004. I started teaching, and I met Gabe in 2007 when he came through, and I found out he was looking for instructors, and I said, hey, kind of raised my hand, kind of hung out with him for a little bit, and he let me jump on board with him, so it was really good, and I stayed with them until about 2000, oh my gosh, was it 17? So I was an instructor with them until about 2017, and just a lot of stuff going on, and broke away, and I haven't been teaching for them for a while, but still keep in contact. Great bunch of guys. If you listen to the podcast, I actually did a podcast what is today, Monday? Must have been Saturday night with one of his other instructors who had taught with me at the time, named Uli Gebhardt. So you'll hear a podcast from Uli at some point. Gear-wise, I bet you I went through 30 different holsters. I bet if I go home and dug through some of those boxes, there's still probably 20 of them in one of those boxes. I was a cheapskate. I bought them off of eBay so I could try a bunch of them. And my favorite one that people still make fun of is my fanny pack. They're like, "What? You really care? Look, you're laughing, Candy. Don't laugh at me. I had a." So I would go to the kids were young. I'd go to the beach. I'd have my diapers. I'd have my juice box. I'd have my car keys. And then there's my gun tucked in the back of that special holster in the back of the fanny pack.
You're like, no, don't go back there, dear.
Yeah, I just look like the the typical dumb tourist on the beach with two little kids, and yeah, thank goodness. When we went in the water, I would tape it to my chest. No, I'm kidding. So that's kind of where I ended up. I went full circle. Went to a full-size Glock at one point and RMR'd it, so I had the red dot on top. Carried that for a while, loved it, but I find as my eyes are aging, it worked really well at first, but I have stigmatisms, and the dot would start to bloom on me. So it no longer looked like a dot, it looked like a starburst, which completely destroyed the reason I had it. So I have switched back to the Shield recently. I've been carrying a Shield, and I carry appendix about 99% of the time. And that still scares people for some reason. And if you're not familiar with appendix, you're newer to the show and newer to listening, that is the gun is tucked in the front of my waistline and right about where your appendix is in your body. So that scares a lot of people.
It's right about something else. That's why it scares them.
That's a family show, somewhat. Yeah, you're absolutely right. If you go online and you listen to people talk about appendix carry, guys, it scares the daylights. That, yes, we guys, again, caveman, don't want to shoot myself there. My bigger fear, quite frankly, would be a femoral artery. If you're going to carry appendix and that gun goes off, that's a femoral shot.
Yeah.
There's not a lot you're doing with a femoral shot. You're both got some training, it sounds like, in first aid and stuff through Well-Armed Woman. Not a lot. I mean, you could try to tourniquet that, but good luck. I don't think you're falling that one, but it is what it is. So, yeah, just to kind of give you some history, we all went through some type of odyssey, I guess we'll call it, where we got to where we are today. And it continues.
And again, with that appendix carry, it's what we were saying last time. Practice, 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 train.
Listen, I probably did 500 draw strokes before I put that gun loaded, carried it around appendix. But again, I started doing that in probably 2007, and I've been carrying appendix ever since. I even carried that Beretta appendix at one point. Now, yeah, again, pants sagging big time. I've carried a full-size Glock.
Mental image.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
I've tried to carry just about every gun I've had or come through or had my hands on. Tried to carry an appendix. Some work, some don't. And it boils down to holster a lot of times and the belt. Depending on how and I do. Again, my wife rolls her eyes. I'll buy my pants about a size bigger, and when we're out shopping, I'll go, "Ooh, that's a great concealed carry shirt." And when you're carrying appendix, that's
right.
People are looking at the front of you a lot of times, and they might notice that a little bit quicker. And of course, darker colors, patterns. I'm wearing a gray T-shirt tonight, and it'll show my gun if I'm not careful, because my tactical shelf's gotten a little larger since I've been off work.
Again, too, you were talking about your belt. We talked about this last week as well. You got to go quality with your equipment.
Yeah.
You cannot go cheap. Your JCPenney belt is not intended for carrying your firearm. It's not. If you're going to carry your firearm on a belt, get a belt for your firearm.
Yeah, and I've seen a few people who are carrying them in those cheap belts.
No.
What's it look like? You guys, especially an appendix, have you seen some of the, and I've really seen people heard stories where the gun has fallen out when they bent forward.
Yes.
Because what happens when the belt starts to stretch,
Right.
and then the holster starts to tilt, especially you got my build, and then you bend over and there it goes, boom, and it's out on the floor.
Or the infamous when it starts falling down the inside of the pant leg.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And you're standing there and you're kind of like holding your thigh, and people are wondering why, and other carriers know why, and we're laughing quietly. It's like, let's see you get out of that one.
People don't realize how comical this can get sometimes.
Yeah.
That's right.
Carrying a gun every day, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
In this one, here we go. If we're gonna break the family show thing, I'm going all the way. Bathroom.
I was just thinking of that.
So, Mary, what do you do when you go to the bathroom? If you don't mind sharing.
Well, it depends on the bathroom.
Yes, there is a huge difference, right?
Right. If there's a place to put your gun, then I always take it out and put it there. But sometimes there's not, so you got to leave it in your pants, in your holster, and it's heavy. Your pants, you don't have this problem, but us women do. Your pants end up going.
I'm in touch with my feminine side. I understand.
And, and it's even rougher when you go to pull your pants back up because you got to get everything back in line.
Now, combine that with sweat,
Yes.
heat, flies, and
Yes.
porta potty.
Yeah.
Bad combination.
That's a bad one.
Oh, my gosh. Bad combination.
Oh.
Bad.
I don't know that I've used a porta potty yet.
Oh, it's horrible.
It is.
Horrible. You start reevaluating life choices real fast.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
horrible.
I was in Arizona with Suarez International and getting certified in point shooting, and I had the urge, and no porta potties out where we were. There was nothing. We were in the middle of the desert.
There were
and
trees.
There were a few. Yes. So I'm hanging on to one. I dropped a mag holder. I dropped my magazine. Right. I was like, I don't think I need that mag.
No.
I was like, I'll find another one when I get home. That ammo ain't that good. So.
Yeah, you're like, if it had been the gun, I would consider it. The mag, absolutely not.
That's
Absolutely not.
One of the other instructors shared a story right after I did that, because I was like, you're not going to believe what I just did. He starts laughing. He said, John, I was on an elk hunt. He said, same thing. He goes, I'm sitting there, and he goes, it hit me. And he goes, I'm on the side of a mountain. He goes, I've got nothing. So I grabbed onto this tree, and I'm holding on. He said, that elk popped up at the ridge right 10 feet away from me. He goes, I'm hanging onto that tree with one hand. He said, I grabbed my rifle with the other hand. He said he fired that shot. He said he went tumbling head over heel. Some stuff going on in Virginia is just insane. They've lost their minds over there, and I'm not sure.
Well, the thing is the whatever's in that bill is Florida has the same thing going on. It's just that they put they've taken the right of assembly out of the Constitution.
I don't even recognize rights in some of these states anymore. It's insane.
Right,
You
so
would think
that's the thing.
Virginia
So
of all places.
I think once it goes in, tried to go into law that this where they're making it illegal for you to assemble one or more of your friends together with you, all of a sudden makes you a gang or something.
It's baffling. I am lost of words, which doesn't happen very often as I read through some of this stuff
One-man
today.
gang now.
So some things welcome back to Protect You Radio. John McCreary here, and I have Rob Campbell with me tonight again, making sure I don't break stuff. The two ADD kids are on the air and trying to have a little fun.
Maybe that's what you should say, that you're a one-man gang. That way you can...
After Rob leaves me here in a week or two, who knows what's going to happen in the studio. Tonight we're going to probably talk about some shopping safety tips. We started to go down that road last week, and we ran out of time, so I'd like to go back to touch on some of that. Some online buying and selling tips. It's the holidays, and people will be shopping online. Some things to think about, cybersecurity issues, how to keep yourself safe. You're online, you're shopping. What do we do? Are there some tips out there? Probably going to be on the road. Some of you are going to be traveling. Let's talk through some of that a little bit tonight and some tips for that. Legislative stuff. We kind of hit on that real quickly, and we will get to that tonight because that's kind of a hot topic. And sanctuary cities. I want to talk about those tonight with a different twist. Sanctuary cities is what we see in California with illegal immigrants and stuff, and some other states. Some people are pushing back, and they're making sanctuary cities for gun owners. So that should be an interesting thing to see how that develops and comes along. So should be fun. If you want to give us a call and be part of the conversation, 330-673-2428. Does that spell out chat, Rob? Is that why that's up there?
Yep.
So 330-673-chat. Can get you on air, and you can throw in your opinion and talk about, keep up with us and see what we're talking about, and let me know what you're thinking about. I caught this article earlier, and it's some serious legislative infringement as far as I'm concerned. This comes out of Washington, D.C. The Acme Fork and Knife Company is trying to block a lawsuit brought against them by the obese community. The lawsuit suggested that the company's utensils were deadly tools that caused people to become overweight. The Supreme Court has blocked the company's attempt to block the lawsuit, paving the way for victims of heart disease and other diet-related ailments to sue Acme. Finally, the Big Forks and Knives lobby will be held accountable for contributing to heart disease and obesity, the leading cause of death among American adults, said a spokesman for the oppressed obese community. No human action leads to these deaths. It is entirely on the sentient utensils used to carry out the mass eating events. Blood is on their hands, protesters cried. Fight the corporate fork and knife lobby. Lawyers for the plaintiffs in these lawsuits have presented evidence that Acme Forks and Knives have marketed utensils to the obese, specifically encouraging them to shovel a bunch of food in their mouths. They also said it was dangerous and irresponsible for the company to market a fully automatic assault spork that can shove 300 rounds of chili into your face in under 10 seconds. Nobody needs that kind of fork power, said one lawyer. We will get justice for the obvious cause of this epidemic of deaths, the guys who make the utensils. Holy shnikes. So that comes out of the Babylon Bee. And if you're not familiar with the Babylon Bee, Rob, I assume you've read a few of their articles.
They have some pretty off-the-wall things. But on a more serious note, more than likely, it's your mom's fault. You think about all that time she said, there's just a little bit more, finish that up, right?
Yeah, Mom, thanks.
So as Overeaters Anonymous, I'm...
So that made me laugh. I read that. Babylon Bee cracks me up. That's if you want to throw guns into that, that scenario, that's exactly what you're looking at. The Sandy Hook thing. The parents are able to move forward with suing the manufacturer of the firearm. And believe me, guys, this is not. I hate to take a tragedy and make it about us and stuff, but if there are companies and the Supreme Court allows victims of certain things to be able to move forward with lawsuits like this. If I were Ford, if I were Chevy, if I were any company that had a product that people were killing other people with, whether it be accidentally or intentionally, somebody needs to step up. I mean, the gun industry is going to take a beating on this possibly through the Supreme Court if they go one way or the other. And again, how many terrorist attacks are you now seeing with cars? People running people down on the street.
Right, 5-ton trucks and narwhal.
That was crazy. Let's use a narwhal and beat the terrorists. That's beautiful. It made me laugh really hard. Nothing like improvised weapons. It
goes into that improvised weapon thing. Yeah. I mean, when you look around and what can I use? Just a 5-foot pike off of a deceased whale is perfect.
That's what that sounds like one of those is it State Farm commercials when they talk about the ridiculous things they've covered. That's if somebody told me I was going to have a narwhal and beat somebody with it, I would probably not take that bet.
The thing is what was that narwhal worth? And since it's a protected species today, so the only Inuits can actually harvest narwhals. So replacing that spike is almost impossible at this point.
I think that gentleman will probably end up getting sued for something by somebody, and they're going to end up putting him away for a long time for using the narwhal. And if you haven't seen that story, you guys, that's the attack that happened. That was actually the one on London Bridge, right, Rob? Is that where the narwhal was used? So, yeah, talk about improvised weapons, and if you guys have taken my classes or talked to me, I'm a huge fan of improvised weapons. For you youngsters, phones used to be connected to the wall, and that was probably one of my all-time favorite improvised weapons. I grabbed a phone off the wall and used it because it had the long cord that I had stretched out, so it gave me some reach as a small child.
Brother or sisters at your mercy at that point? With the
That was an older brother who was threatening my life, and I reached out and touched him from a distance. So whoever uses the reach out and touch somebody would have been very proud of me.
Those old Western Electric phones, they could take a beating too. So.
It stayed in one piece, so I was impressed.
Hand one out.
Yeah, I ran screaming like a third grader after I hit him and realized I was in deep crap. But it worked well for a second. It created distance for me and time, which is a lot of times in self-defense situations.
Okay, so some of your topics you were talking about was shopping or just out in the general public and so I guess. If you're going out in the general public, pay attention. If you're going out as a group, assign people different spots to pay attention to. This way, then, everybody doesn't have to be looking at the same thing. Another thing to think about is pepper spray is an easy thing to put in your pocket. It's very effective, and it keeps you on the improvised weapons list without having to have a narwhal.
I'm baffled at how much people talk down pepper spray, and the only thing I can figure is they haven't been sprayed with pepper spray.
The TV shows that these guys, tough guy, squirts it in his mouth like a breath freshener and so in reality, if you've ever seen anybody hit with that stuff, that ain't gonna happen. The stuff I have is gel, and it says right on the label to assure the victim that everything's going to be okay.
Yeah, let me get right on that.
I'm like, assure the victim my ass. I'm getting the hell out of here.
I'm assured I'm going to run as fast as I can in the other direction. That's what I'm assured of. Yeah, that's insane. But yeah, the pepper sprays are very effective tools, especially as a first line of defense.
Right, I like a gel type so that it sticks right to them.
Yeah, the aerosols, we're in Northeast Ohio. Who knows where the wind is going to blow in any second? You launch a blast of aerosol towards somebody, and you suddenly got a backwind at you, and it's now in your face as much as it's theirs.
But the pepper spray is very usable. A lot of them that fit right onto your keychain or whatever, so you don't forget it. You don't have to remember where did I put it or whatever.
Yeah, and if it's just a guy asking you for change and they get a little aggressive, there's no reason for you to draw a gun at that point, people. There's, people tend to, and Mike talked about this earlier tonight, was, that continuum of force. There's some people freak out.
The big thing you got, though, is the average person doesn't realize how fast things can escalate.
Yeah, absolutely.
So by letting someone get into your personal space and not having any clue of what's happening, you can be drawn into it, and it'll be over before you know anything happened. And so your best bet is to keep your distance. Don't trust anyone, no matter what your mom said.
Well, and that's part of the problem, Rob. You're right. We are raised as trusting people. I don't know what your background was, but I was raised as a Christian child growing up, and people were nice for the most part, and we treated them with respect. That can get you in trouble sometimes.
And a lot of people are nice. It's just that if you find one or two that aren't, things could go bad for you. So you need to be prepared for this. And the likelihood of finding someone bad is getting more and more in their favor than yours. So
yeah, we should probably do a whole segment on pre-attack indicators. Maybe I'll bring that up next week, because there are things, you guys, before you're attacked, people will seem really nice, but they are going to be doing certain things. There's some physiology to this. Your body does certain things before you launch an attack on somebody.
Another thing you were saying about buying stuff on the internet, the easiest way to do that is to give your brother-in-law the money and let him use it on his credit card. You know? But
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of
but also like my bank has a separate. I can it's an account I can open that it's attached to my regular account, but I have to manually transfer money into that, and it gives me a card that only draws out of that account.
That's a great idea.
So it limits the amount of liability you have, because when it's out of money, it's out of money. There's no overdraft. There's no way for them to take more money than that out of it. So if you're going on to Amazon and buying something that's $88, you put $90 in there, then you got your $88 and $2 to spare for the next time you're doing something.
That is a great tip.
Instead of letting them have access to your whole bank account or something.
That's great. I didn't even know that was an option at most banks. So let's check that out, because that is, eliminating your exposure. That is a great way to do that. Is just put that certain amount. Wow, good tip.
Right. I mean, my dad was another one. He just had two banks, and so one was his primary bank, and the other one was the one that he would put money in occasionally if he wanted to do something, or if he was going to loan you a credit card to do something. And he only wanted so much exposure to what you're going to do with it. He could go and put $300 in there and then give you the credit card, and you could do what you were doing. And his damages were limited to that $300. And so
that's ingenious.
It's a lot of it is just thinking about it ahead of time, and we are naturally lazy people, so we already have money in that account.
It's easy to click that
so
button,
why don't
isn't
we
it?
just use it, and then all of a sudden we're in trouble, and now we don't have no money. And
So one that drives me bonkers, I see right after the holidays, is I'll be driving down the street, I will see what I call billboards, and it'll be I just bought the 70-inch flat screen TV, and I put the box at the end of my driveway 2 days before the garbage is coming, and say, hey, everyone who's a bad guy, guess who's got the nicest TV in the neighborhood now? Cut those things down, you guys. Burn them, turn them inside out.
In the old days, the TV was a major investment.
Right.
Today, a 70-inch TV, it's Black Friday special out at $128, so it's hardly worth stealing, because who's coming to your house to take your TV that they might be able to get $30 out of if they wrestle that giant thing?
But you see all these porch pirates who are ripping stuff off, and they don't even know what's in those packages. So if they're willing to snag a package that's
it's like Christmas. I mean, you never know what you're getting until you get it. But I mean, they went to the trouble of ordering it and having it delivered, so it has to be worthwhile. Just because it's a plaid skirt that doesn't fit anyone that we know.
Absolutely. When you're out and about, you guys try to do some of your shopping during the daytime. It's just, if you look at mall parking lots, and I don't know who's going to malls anymore, but if you're out in the mall parking lot and you're in between cars and it's dark and you're not under like a well-lit spot, you're just kind of setting yourself up as a target.
There's a lot of stuff where they're talking about these human traffickers and stuff like this, and some of the things they do. The vans, they have plain marked vans with no markings at all, and then they'll have like external locks on the doors. Pay attention to what's going on around you. They do stupid things on your car. They'll put cards in the windshield. They'll duct tape something or do something. Don't stop and fix it there unless you got your pistol in your pocket, and that way one of you gets out to fix it and the other one watches what's happening around. But otherwise, just go down the street somewhere or drive home and then fix it.
Yeah. To go to a well-lit spot, go someplace that's a little more public where there's actually people out milling about. Just pay attention to a lot of this.
Pay attention to what's going on, because people can be screaming and hollering and jumping around and honking the horn, and people walk right past them and go right into the store. So if you need help, 99 times out of 100, no one's going to help you. They're going to think that you're just some crazy guy that's on drugs and get mosquitoes in your pants or something.
Yeah, when was the last time you actually paid attention to a car alarm?
Right. I mean, that thing is, it's like somebody just shut that damn thing off.
Yeah, we have gotten, I think, to a point in society where louder noises and stuff.
But how many times have you been to somebody's house and their dog barks and they scream at the dog to shut up and sit down? I mean, the dog's hired to do a job. He was just doing that job, and now you called him off. Yeah. You should get up and go see what's happening, because there's something outside that he might think you might be interested in.
Absolutely. Another one I see people do a lot of times is they leave the mall or they leave the store that they're shopping in, or a grocery store. This doesn't have to be a holiday thing. And they get to their car and they start rummaging through the purse or the fanny pack, whatever they're carrying, and they're looking for their keys. talk about a time when you've taken your awareness completely away from what you should be
If
doing.
anything, while you're in the store, you should get your keys, make them accessible to you.
Before you're walking out that door. Have them in your hand. I know everyone teaches that between your fingers.
They show you where you can put the keys between your fingers if you need to.
Makes me want to throw up my mouth every time I see it.
Even if you can't poke somebody, you can scratch the heck out of them with the thing.
There's a much better way to pinch the key and strike with that.
And you also have the panic button. Most of the cars have a panic button so that at least it annoys enough people that somebody's going to say something.
Hopefully. So hopefully you gouge the person's eye out and they're screaming loud enough and the horn's going off.
If you just got one key and somebody's menacing you, you stick it in their eye or up underneath their chin.
Ear canal.
You have a lot of soft spots on your face that don't react well to a key being shoved into it.
Yeah, I much prefer the pinch with the one key in your hand versus the between the knuckles, because you probably hurt yourself worse with the keys between your fingers.
The also thing too is think about if you're punching someone, punch through them, don't punch on them. You're punching for the back of their head and not the front of their head. So you don't want to pull up short. You want to make sure that you deliver all the power about 4 inches behind the front of their face.
Yeah, I think too many of us probably, when we do practice punching, we pull our punches because we are practicing. And I think you're right, Rob. I think it probably cause some problems.
And think about it. How many people ever practice that? Or if they do, they practice it on their brother or something. So they were kind of playing anyhow. It wasn't a full throttle. I mean, in reality, you watch MMA guys, they'll wrap their hands and everything, and they still break all their hands all up. Yeah. I mean, if you got a chance to punch somebody, use your elbows and your forearms. You got a lot better thrusting power to use your upper arm to.
That elbow is a vicious tool, and you catch a point of it going different directions. And watch the MMA guys. You're right; they split their faces open with those elbows and knees. So, learn to use one. Again, go out and find somebody who can teach you to do that.
Also, too, if you do happen to have to go after somebody elbows and knees, don't stop, because then they think it's their turn. So you're all in until the cops pull you out.
Stories after story of guys who have taken people to the ground, and it's because they train. They get up and they let the other guy up because they tap. Oh no, there's no tap. There is. You keep wailing on them until either the police pull you off or you feel like you can make an escape. That's no tapping out.
Until they either turn blue or change shapes, whichever.
Whatever comes first, absolutely. Here's one that drives me crazy. I see people out shopping, and I'm watching them post on Facebook like crazy. And if your Facebook page is open to the general public and it's not just to your friends,
your best bet is to tell them afterwards that we went shopping. Or tell them afterwards I went to Disneyland last week instead of that I'm going to Disneyland next week.
Yes, if you were traveling over the break, please. And guys, please, I know, John, you're being paranoid. Yeah, probably, but I'd rather be paranoid and you guys come home safely and not come home to your house being ransacked and all your stuff missing. Or if your kids are staying behind and your kids end up having to deal with a break-in, that would suck. So,
or even if you have it all locked up, they can't get in, but when you get home, now you're not paying attention, so now they have you and your keys and all your stuff. And
I had a student who came to class, and the whole reason they came to class is they lived in a nice area, and they pulled into the garage one night, and they dropped the garage door behind them. They'd set it down, hit the little button, and the way they had a refrigerator or something in the garage, and the person stepped out from behind that refrigerator, or maybe as a shelf. So now they're trapped in the garage, and I'm like, that sucks. So, that's the type of situation. If somebody knows you're out.
If you're still in your car,
run
you're
them
not
over.
trapped. Just drive out the garage.
You can either go out the garage or turn that thing into a bullet and just bash him into the wall.
Just pinch him against that refrigerator into the wall, and insurance will cover all that.
That's right. The red paint to cover up the blood. Oh,
what I'm saying is, if you're in your car, do not get out of the car.
Yep, I agree.
Use it as a battering ram. Use it as an escape tool. Whatever you need to do. I mean, the farther you can get away, the better. But if you can't get away, run somebody down.
Yeah, if you've made it to your car in one of these shopping experiences, and somebody does try to attack you in the car, like Rob said, that thing is a big bullet. And if they get behind your car as you're trying to back up, you should hear a thump thump. and then you want to hear a thump as you pull back
Right,
forward to
and
make sure you hit
it's-
something.
And that part about where your mom's going to say you're going to get in trouble because you run somebody over.
Yeah, well.
Big deal. You'll deal with it later.
So I have a really good attorney. Let them figure it out at the end. I'll just shut up and
Call
let them handle it.
Disney. He'll straighten it out.
That's right.
for you.
He'll make them pay, and you'll go free, hopefully. So, yeah, make sure you got a good attorney and you start running people over. Don't advertise when you're out and about. And what I mean by that is don't wear the flashy clothes, the flashy jewelry. Now you've made yourself a target. If somebody sees you carrying a bunch of really nice bags from a bunch of really nice stores and you're wearing some stuff that makes you a target, think twice about that kind of stuff, you guys. It's makes you much easier to identify as somebody worth robbing if you're dressed a certain way. If you're looking, again, please don't take this as being paranoid.
If you're using a big wad of cash, don't get your big wad of cash out of your pocket. Get a couple of bills at a time out of your pocket till you get the amount that you need.
That's actually the next point, Rob, is wallets and phones being carried kind of out in the open. We call it apple picking. If you're walking down the street and you've got your Apple iPhone out and you've got your face stuck in it, I can't tell you how many stories I know of downtown where I work. People ride by on a bicycle and snatch. Thanks, I picked your apple.
My mother taught me how to buy things and stuff at like you go to a flea market or whatever and you're going to dicker with someone. You can't hardly beat them down on the price and then ask for change for $200 or something. So you need to fold your money a certain way so that you can reach in your pocket from that feel and pick out what bills you need. And this way, then, if you say all I got is $40, you only pull out $40 instead of all of a sudden need change for $100.
That's great. Absolutely. Two of these kind of go together. I see a lot of young ladies and seasoned people who wear purses cross-body. This drives me bonkers. I know they think, oh, you can't steal my purse from me as easily. That's true. It's not as easy to take off your body, but depending on how that strap is on your head, around your neck, it is, for somebody who knows what they're doing, you've now turned that into a garrote, and they can easily choke you out with the strap on the purse. So be careful with that. I'm a bigger fan of keeping it on a shoulder, maybe close to the wall that you're walking near. That way, if somebody does want to snag it, they got to bump you and in the wall. And it's not as easy as a target, and it doesn't make you as easy to choke out.
Or
it's
if
just
there's
on your
two
shoulder.
of you, keep it on the inside
Yep.
between the two of you and stuff. Pay attention to what's going on. And
Yeah, God help you if you tried to snatch a purse between my wife and my daughter, and that would be a bad day for you. So
I mean, that's the thing is they sell purses that have reinforced straps so that you can't be cut off because some of them, they just come up with a big knife and cut it off.
Snatch them and go, yep. That's the easiest. I see fanny packs cut away sometimes. People, back when fanny packs were cool. Not that they're not cool now. Don't even try, you guys.
But the thing about it, if you don't need that purse, don't take the purse.
Don't take it.
Put your money and your cards in your pocket.
Yep.
Put them in different pockets so if somebody gets in your pocket, they don't get all of it at the same time.
Yeah, probably
And,
front pocket's a little bit better than a rear pockets. And you're out. Great point, Rob. Put them in separate pockets. You got cards, put them in one, cash in the other. And then if somebody does get in, then they're not getting everything in one fell swoop. That's awesome. Scarves too. I see a lot of people who they do that little loop and then they run the scarf end back through the loop. You've just turned that into a noose or again a garrote, and easy to grab the end of it, pull it tight, and now you've choked yourself out or they've choked you out. Pretty simple. So
well, some of it too is there's tricks to getting out of some of that stuff. So if you practice it, instead of trying to get away, get on. Don't pull away.
Yeah, absolutely. So my wife just texted me about sharing a story about my girlfriend who I was dating at the time and just randomly going with me to a dark place, which was just a parking lot. But talk about people not being aware and not paying attention. And now that woman would chew your face off. So she's come a long way. Talk about practicing stuff, Rob.
Well, Mike and them teach a class with the guys that were on earlier. They teach a class on like rape prevention, stuff like this. And instead of trying to push away, they teach you to pull the attacker in and then bite off whatever you can get your mouth on.
Absolutely.
So if you bite off the nose, you bite off a cheek, you bite off something, they'll use their power to get away from you because they think that you're not normal.
And most of them don't expect you to fight back, and that's that's
Well,
where
they're
it becomes,
expecting you to fight back. They don't expect you to crawl on. They're expecting you to push away. So if you grab them, pull them in as tight as you can, and bite something, bite their cheek, bite their ear, bite their nose. I mean, you think about it. When Mike Tyson bit off Holyfield's ear, they stopped the fight right there because that was not normal behavior. And
that is a psychological. When people see their own blood and they see their own ear coming out of your mouth, that is a
right, I mean,
psychological
so
stopper.
As much as it sounds nasty, what's the alternative? So the thing is, grab on, pull in tight, bite off as much stuff as you can. Once you get one piece off, go for the second piece. They'll eventually try to get you away from them.
As my son says, us guys are like doorknobs, just grab, twist, and pull, and that'll end a lot of situations too. In Krav, I've seen a lot of how they teach, a hair pull. People tend to pull away from a hair pull, and Krav basically teaches you drive into it, is move with the hair pull and drive into them, hit them with that elbow, as Rob mentioned earlier, hit them with that fist. And a lot of times they're not expecting that. They're expecting you to go the other way when you come in.
Also, too, if you're traveling with friends, if you start into them, they should all start in at the same time. It isn't like in the movies where everyone waits for their turn for the fist fight. If it's 3 or 4 against 1, it's much better odds of winning.
People love to jump in. Most of these guys hunt in packs. It's not usually a one-person situation. They've usually got friends or someone that they've, maybe not a friend, but an acquaintance who kind of lives the same lifestyle they do. So be careful with that stuff. But don't wander aimlessly through the parking lot too. You guys think about where you parked, and this is one of those situations where put it in your phone. If you're not sure where you parked, put it in your phone when you park, and then you're not wandering around the parking lot again in that situation.
Like if you got Google Maps or something like that, it'll show up with the little dot. You hit it with your finger, and it marks that spot right there. And
look at Rob going with all the technology
so
tonight.
it drops a pin right there, so you can get back to that spot.
Yeah, and again, you think about malls. You come out of Kaufman's and you parked at Sears. I guess they don't exist anymore. You don't want to walk that entire length of that parking lot to get back to your car. Get that pin on Google and go to it. But look it up before you walk out the door and make sure you're going out the right door. That helps a lot. Some of these malls and stuff have escorts and security. Let them take you to your car if you don't feel like walking out through the parking lot and stuff.
That's the thing too, is if you're at the bank and you're getting a pretty good wad of cash for some reason, they'll escort you to your car also.
Yep, and use those well lit ATMs. Use the ATMs that are inside if you can. I know it's quick and easy. A lot of times they hit that ATM on the outside. The drive-through ones are probably better than the ones where you get out of your car and walk up to them. So yeah, use those type of things to your advantage, and keep a hand free. I know it's hard in the shopping moment to keep your hands free. You bought a bunch of deals and it was Black Friday and you got 50 things in your hand. Be careful with that kind of stuff, unless the bag is really heavy. But keep your hands, at least one hand free, so you can access that pepper spray, you can access that key, or whatever you need to do to fight that person off. So. Some other things, everyone's looking for a good deal, right? So we're all looking on Craigslist, we're looking on Facebook Marketplace. What are some of the issues around that kind of stuff? If you're going to meet somebody, my first thing is it really worth your time?
Well, and then also take your friends with you and some pepper spray.
Yeah, absolutely. How much money are you really saving? Is it worth going to meet some strange person in some strange place? If you're saving $5, yeah, it might be better off going to the store where, you can quickly cash out. I tend to use, if I'm dealing with Craigslist type stuff or Marketplace, I have an email, almost like Rob's bank account that he's got that doesn't leave him exposed. I'll use that certain email address. So as I'm communicating with people, it's sort of a junk email address and they don't have any other access to me except through that email. A lot of like Craigslist and stuff have the proxy emails. Stick to using that.
Usually what I'm buying weighs 5 tons, so I need help anyhow. So it doesn't, I mean, I'm not going to buy a Xbox or whatever the little computer thing is. I'm going to buy a whole car or something.
That's why Rob always shops with a friend. He needs help getting it in and out of the truck.
I mean, with crowbars, pinch bars, and
that's awesome. Also, like nail down details, you guys. Don't. Hey, we might meet at this time, and get details. What's the car? What color is the car? What kind of car? Get their phone number if you can. Do all those type of things so that if something does go sideways. Yeah, it could be a burner phone. It could be it could be a stolen car. But the
also,
more information you get, the better off you're going to be.
If it's something small like that, meet them at the local Walmart parking lot or something like this where you're
So
on camera.
many
And
police departments now have a safety zone. This is different than a safe space when you don't feel good. They've got some fire departments, some municipalities, their courthouses, the police departments have a space where you can go. They have cameras, like Rob said, like a Walmart. These are some things that if somebody's there for nefarious reasons, they're probably not going to agree to meet you in those spots. And if they do agree to meet you in the police parking lot and they're intent on robbing you in the police parking lot, you've run into a true psychopath, and you better be ready to fight because it's on probably at that point. So, absolutely. Trust your instincts. That's huge, you guys. There's a reason your hair stands up on your neck. There's a
what's
reason.
that thing they say, if it's too good of a deal to be true, then it probably is too good of a deal to be true.
It's either they're looking to jack you because they know you're bringing money, or they're gonna take all your money, or if you're selling something that's of high value,
they're just going to take your stuff and
yeah, absolutely. There was one
and maybe kill you for your trouble.
Yeah, there was one in Akron about 2 weeks ago, I think, where they were selling a THC cartridge for a Juul or one of those types of things, and the guy robbed him at gunpoint. One of those situations. Again, if you're dealing with those type of things, think about who you might be running into when you go to meet them.
It's funny is I get a lot of people say, "Well, how come this where somebody's robbing them at gunpoint or they're shooting the place up or something? Nobody has a concealed carry permit." Because most people who have a concealed carry permit wouldn't put themselves in that position, and they have enough sense to realize that nothing good happens after midnight.
We call it the 3 S's in our house, Rob. Stupid places with stupid people at stupid times. So we try to keep out of trouble in our family by following those S rules. It's worked out pretty well. And guys, don't take that as I don't want you to live your life. None of this stuff should be, oh God, John said we're going to die again and we should never. No. Be aware. These are just some tips to keep in mind. Again, don't lock yourself in your home for the rest of your life.
If you go into it completely clueless,
yes,
then things are bad. But if you have a little bit of awareness and you think about it ahead of time, so you take somebody with you, at least tell them that you're going and where you're going and stuff like that. Then you have some somewhat of a, I guess, backup at that point. But
yeah, absolutely. Taking some friends with you and stuff, that makes a whole heck of a lot of sense. If you're doing it from your home, say you're the seller and you've got something nice. There was a horrible story last year where a woman sold her, it was a washer or dryer, I can't remember. And the guy came and said, oh, hey, I didn't bring the person I was supposed to bring, and I can't get it out of the basement by myself. Can you help me? So she goes to help him. He uses the washer and pins her against the wall. Now he's got her, and he did some stuff to her that wasn't very nice. And I was like, yeah, be careful, you guys. If somebody comes to your house, try to get that kind of stuff moved into the garage or into the driveway ahead of time. It may suck. You may have to move it back down. But if you're selling it, it's coming up at some point. So try to get it up and out. I know everyone says, oh, you have to move it on your own. Don't let anyone in your house for those type of situations.
I always tell the wife, wear your gun on. And this way,
absolutely.
If you're in the backyard and you need your gun, it's on your person.
Absolutely.
If you're in the basement and you need your gun, it's on your person.
Absolutely.
Also, too, it isn't somewhere where someone else in a different part of the house could get a hold of it. So you don't have to worry about the grandkids getting it or anything. So if you know where your gun's at in your pocket, then things go much better for you all day long.
Yep, that's the beauty of that. Yeah, take your gun. Whether you're going to meet or if somebody's coming to your house, have your gun on you. And if you're doing a driveway pickup or you're doing a garage pickup, lock the other doors. That could be a distraction. There's been situations in the summertime like that.
A thin line between prepared and paranoia.
Absolutely. And you don't want to be paranoid. It's that simple. And I know some of these tips make it sound paranoid. If you followed every single tip, you might get, might give you a headache. But again, we both touched on this. It's just some basic awareness, some basic common sense. Thanks for tuning in again this week. Hope you enjoyed the show, and hopefully we will catch you next week on Protect You Radio, and check out Ohio Personal Protection Training or OhioPPT.com for upcoming concealed carry classes and advanced shooting classes. Thanks. Catch you next week.